Hello and welcome to Double Talk. I'm Mark Steffen. Joining me this week is Randy Harris.
Good morning.
Randy, thanks for sitting in for the vacationing Michael Mandel.
Indeed.
And Randy, you've been involved in your own sort of talk show.
It's a good way of phrasing it, sure.
In live.
We do the Great Conversation. We've been doing conversations, dialogues, civil exchanges, civil dialogues, education, learning opportunities, communication opportunities. We're into our 7th year, and we've done somewhere between 800 and 900 dialogues. Lost count at some point.
Where do these take place?
In various locations. We're right now in the 2nd semester of a course on facilitating collaborative dialogue at NMSU through the sociology department. And otherwise we use lots of different venues around town to just bring community together in a safe and civil setting to discuss challenging, have dialogues about sometimes challenging and difficult issues, and to do so in a way that is respectful, no name calling, no shouting at people, no bullying, no discrimination based on age, race, sex, gender, religion, politics. We just don't allow that.
Right, these are all mature conversations between adults.
Yeah, kind of like the way grown-ups might talk,
right.
if they were given more of that opportunity.
A little encouragement never hurt, I guess. Yeah. So when's the next one, and what is it?
Actually, the next one is this evening, Thursday.
Well, this show airs on Saturday, so the one after that.
So we can play with time here. We'll actually be. The following will be. We got one tonight. It's part of a 3-part series on alternative economic systems or models or practices. This is the 2nd in the series. The first one was on a concept called modern monetary theory. Interesting. People should look that up if they're interested. Tonight is about cooperatives, the cooperative model, how that works. And next Thursday, also at Mountain View Market from 5:30 to 7, is an alternative economics dialogue that takes into consideration capitalism and what capitalism is, how it works, where, are there challenges? Are there shortfalls, shortcomings? Can they be addressed? What might be some different ideas?
And do you bring in learned experts in the fields?
Oh yeah. The co-op's going to be run by the general manager of the co-op. The gal who is the sociology professor at NMSU, Julie Rice Steinkopf Rice, is going to. She will be the key information person for the alternatives to capitalism exploration. And, the objective is not to sell or convince or, try to get people to think a certain way. The objective is simply to bring people together to think, to communicate. We're all in this community together. We're all in this life together. The more effectively we can communicate with one another.
And I suppose at the co-op you could sip some coffee or some water or juice or whatever.
Yep. There's food and water and coffee, and it's a great time.
Sounds like an interesting evening. So you all talk until somebody runs dry, like the river. The local river here. What a segue, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So the Rio Grande River will be dry next week. They're cutting the water off. The farmers have had all that they need, and this year has been the warmest and wettest on record. So we've had a lot of rain that we weren't expecting to get.
Yes.
And both reservoirs up north are at good capacity. And we had a good snowpack last year, which helped keep the levels high in the lakes. So in a few weeks, the river will be bone dry. And will be that way until the next irrigation comes, for whatever the winter or spring plantings are.
And there was just some new apparent reconciliation on water rights issue with Texas.
Yes. Yeah. And Mexico is entitled to some of that water as well.
Yeah.
Now, I was reading recently that there's New Mexico utilities up north power plants that use coal. Still, they're not, despite the fact that natural gas is cheaper than coal these days, they're still using coal-fired plants up there. But they've said that after 2031, there'll be no more coal utilized in those two plants, which is good news, I think. The president wants to increase the coal industry, while everybody else wants to get rid of it. It's 19th century technology, and it's a dirty technology, and it's one of the things contributing to mercury content in the fish.
Yeah, we see that in Elephant Butte. You have something like, you're allotted something like 4 ounces a month or 4 ounces a year to eat fish from that lake without overriding the toxin levels.
Sure, people don't realize coal has mercury in it, and when it's burned, the effluent contains mercury in dust form, and that has to land somewhere. Most of it lands, well, on the coast, it lands in the ocean. But around here in the middle of the country, it lands wherever it lands. And if it lands in the lakes and streams, well, then the fish get it.
And then if we eat the fish, we get it.
We get it. And eventually the worms will eat us and they'll get it.
See? And then the bacteria, and this is how it goes.
That's right. It's the circle of life. So that's it for coal. Hopefully it is a dying industry, and in my opinion, I would like to see it go the way of nuclear power. Now, also in New Mexico, they're trying to alter the school science standards. They want to do away with talking about climate change. Anything that has to do with human involvement in climate change, they'd rather call it temperature fluctuation.
Yes.
And they also want to do away with talk of evolution.
Seemingly.
They want the age of the Earth admitted.
Yeah, right.
Which, I guess I understand that we have a vice president who thinks that Adam and Eve were riding dinosaurs 6,000 years ago.
In this region, in this valley.
Yeah. You've been to the trackways, right? You can tell when someone's riding them because the tracks are deeper.
This sets up the tracks a little different.
So, and there's been a lot of backlash. Scientists at Los Alamos have said, let's not do this. Let's teach correct science. Albuquerque Public Schools superintendent has said he's not happy with the plan to alter the school's science curriculum. There's always somebody out there who wants to.
Yeah, there's an interesting book that might lend some information to that. It's called Anti-Intellectualism in American Life. And it's a fascinating study of the push and pull with education and religion and government and business since the Puritans landed. And it's a very interesting study about how one particular point of view will become dominant for a while, and then another one will move, and there seems to be kind of this ebb and flow, kind of the way human experience is in so many respects. Anyway, the name of the book is Anti-Intellectualism in American Life. Fascinating if you're into that kind of study.
Well, it seems to be rampant these days. Sad to say.
There's not a whole lot of investment in rational thinking.
No, well, they talk about fake news. Fake science, I think, is just as rampant as so-called fake news. Most of the fake news is just news somebody doesn't like.
Sure. It's called confirmation bias. If you see things that if you see a sheet of paper with 10 points listed, it's a neurological thing. It's like, we don't really have to be guilting or shaming or blaming ourselves. It's the way the brain works. We can become conscious of it and address it. But if there are 10 things on the list and we see 3 of them that affirm our pre-existing perspectives, those register and the other 7 may as well have been written with disappearing ink. The brain actually will not process that information. So sometimes we get caught in a little bit of a trap. We perhaps don't give enough weight and credibility and responsibility to the way the gray matter actually functions, that, you know, it's estimated that by far the vast majority of our thinking processes go on in the background, in the dark, and that only a tiny bit of what we do actually is in the front, in the light, conscious.
And how much of that is worthless information anyway? I mean, you know, we're all guilty of not wanting to be confused by the facts.
Yes, I'm talking about my feelings.
That's right. So, and you know, and speaking of school, here in Las Cruces, they're coming down on parents who don't have their kids in school. It is a law that kids do have to attend school up to a certain age, and they just convicted 12 parents of truancy.
Yeah.
Based on their children's truancy.
Yeah.
I mean, if, you know, these were repeat offenders. It isn't a misdemeanor. And
it is not? Is that what you said?
It is a misdemeanor.
Oh, it is, okay.
To not allow you to not have your kids in school. And if you're a repeat offender, they're going to find you and then fine you. You have to have a good reason why your kids aren't going to school. And if you don't contact the school and tell them, your kids are going to be out these days and why, and apparently these kids weren't going at all.
Did you, yeah, that was an interesting headline. Did they offer up a kind of an age or grade range where that fit? Do you recall?
I didn't see an age range for the children involved.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all.
Huh.
But basically it just boils down to bad parenting.
Seemingly. You know, there's also a question about, and it's likely that it doesn't apply in this particular situation, but lots of people are real challenged by the education system.
Sure.
What's happening in our schools, and there may be some who, this may not fit with this particular issue, but it certainly seems that there are some who are reluctant to have their kids in the public schools.
Some people don't approve of what's being taught there.
Yeah.
Others aren't thrilled with the quality of the education.
Yeah.
They can't afford to send the kids to private schools, where may or may not be better than the public schools. It's certainly more expensive. And if you pay to send your kids to a public school, you're still paying taxes to support, or rather to a private school, you're still paying taxes to support the public schools.
Via property tax.
Property tax pays for the public schools. And so if you send them to a private school, you're paying for that as well.
Sure.
Unless you can get a voucher, which the government is trying to push on the people to privatize the school system. And so far that's only gone as far as it's gone, I guess. I'm in favor of public schools. How else are they going to learn?
It's a great system.
Some people want to get rid of the Department of Education. Let's talk about doing that now. The current head of the Department of Education, DC, cabinet position, does not care for public schools, wants to privatize the school systems nationwide, and takes to the voucher system.
There, you know, this too again is part of a swinging pendulum.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it goes this way, and then it goes back the other way. And for one set of, political terms, or sometimes for a generation or two, things will seem to be dominant in one perspective, and then it'll slowly transition to another. And if if we can work with that, if we can recognize that there may be some value and some wisdom in the human experience, being able to incorporate different perspectives and actually work together, sit down, figure it out, do it together, so that it's so that everybody wins, might be advantageous for us.
Sure, and it's better to have the dialogue on both sides than not have dialogue at all. I think it's time to take a break. And so let's do that, and we will return after these valuable words.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business. According to the secret war, banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the secret war free. Call the number on your screen or visit online.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. Call the number on your screen right now to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
We are back. This is Double Talk. I'm Mark Steffen along with Randy Harris joining me this week. And, we're talking about a lot of things that might be of interest to the folks around here and topics in the news. Another thing they're trying to push in Congress, I noticed, is silencers on guns is something that people think should be more accessible to people who want to silence their guns. I don't get it. Seems to me if the shooter in Las Vegas had had silencers on his guns, they would have had a much harder time finding him, and he would have been able to slaughter a lot more people. They're calling it, well, it's to protect the hearing of the young kids learning how to shoot.
Yes, and soldiers.
And soldiers. Well, they have your protection for that. I shoot a gun sometimes. I wear ear protection.
Yeah, it's an interesting argument. It's one of those challenging arguments that, there's not one absolute way of looking at it. There's the idea of keeping the sound levels down and protecting hearing. Is that a good idea? Sure, that seems like a great idea. Is that an idea that could be abused, misused in ways that would increase the capacity for harm? Yes, that's also a characteristic. What do we do when we have situations like that? How do we work these? It seems reasonable. We need to start figuring out how to work these things out.
Well, there's a bill that this is a part of. Another part of that bill are armor-piercing bullets. They would like to make those basic cop killer bullets, because they go through bulletproof vests. They want to make them more available. And they've hidden all this policy in what's called the Sportsman's Heritage and Recreational Enhancement Act, or SHARE. So they've hidden it within hundreds of pages as one of the many things as part of this bill. So if they're trying to hide these things getting in there, that means they're trying to sneak it past, which says a lot.
What is the advantage to the average sportsman or shooter to have armor-piercing, Kevlar-piercing rounds?
Yeah, none that I can see. Any more than a hunter wouldn't need to hunt with automatic weapons.
Well, is it possible that it's like a Second Amendment consideration? That
Yep.
if we, if the people with the right to bear arms, protection, etc., from the government, there's a lot of argument about that whole right to bear arms, Second Amendment thing as being protection against an overreaching government. You know, would those rounds then be able to penetrate military or law enforcement vehicles that were acting out, outside of the constraints of our civilized constitutional society?
Well, armor piercing, I don't know how thick of armor they're talking about, but they used to call those cop killer bullets years ago. They tried to bring, and they did bring them out, and they since outlawed them. I don't really see the need for them unless you're going to war.
Well, and these are the kinds of questions that our communities get to ask and answer. And if we can do it with some kind of rational, intentional, clear, concise thinking, hopefully we can get better results.
Yeah, when the Second Amendment was written, guns fired one round at a time.
Yeah.
And they weren't too accurate.
And it took a while to load one.
Yeah, right. So now, it's voting season.
Yes.
At least in Las Cruces, people are, they want to vote for city councilmen and judges.
Yep.
We have 3 city council districts
Yes.
up for grabs. District 3, District 5, District 6. Do you live in one of the districts?
3.
3. Yes, Olga Pedroza, the councilwoman from that, is not running this time around, so she has, replacement people who want that seat.
Yeah, at least 2.
At least 2.
It's Gabe Vasquez and Bev Courtney.
Yes, and then District 5 is and District 6. Gil Sorg is running for re-election, and I don't know any of the other people. I don't live in those districts, and I've met Gil Sorg. He's been on this show.
Sure.
But I don't know anybody else involved. Seal Levatino is running.
Seal's running. That seat's up again. Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. It's the local, particularly municipal elections like city council are supposed to be nonpartisan.
Right. Nobody's listed as a Democrat or Republican on the
Right.
ballot.
And yet, there seems to be quite a bit of concern that another Republican would be on the city council or another Democrat would be on the city council. The city council is not a place for those politics.
Right.
Every councilor represents not only their district, but they make decisions for the entire city. And it's not about righty-lefty. And yet, you see it seeping in there. Well, we don't,
Well, you see people in previous elections, out-of-town money came in to try to get
Yes.
Republicans elected.
Or Democrats.
Or, yes, whatever.
Yeah. Or independents. How about independents?
Yeah. Well,
How about open primaries?
I'm a registered independent. I would love to have an open primary.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can go out, you can absentee vote now, and starting Wednesday, early voting begins. So keep that in mind if you don't want to wait until election day.
That's this coming Wednesday.
Wednesday, which is
Let's look that up real quick.
Looking up what the date of Wednesday will be.
So that would be Wednesday the 18th.
18th of October.
Early voting starts.
Mm-hmm.
And people can probably find out where that is online with county clerk's office.
Right, and starting Saturday, the 28th, you can do it on. You can start on Saturdays. They'll be voting on Saturdays, starting on the 28th.
Great.
Okay, now I noticed that the Public Defender's Office. We're going to skip Space Industry.
Yeah.
The Public Defender's offices in New Mexico are overwhelmed with caseloads because they don't have enough public defenders, and they don't have a big enough budget to really do what they're tasked to do, which is defend people who can't afford a lawyer. Down here in Doñana County, the poorest county in the country, basically, most of the people who are arrested don't have money for an attorney, and so they have to rely upon the Public Defender's Office.
Yes.
And the Public Defenders Association has asked the state for some money, for some help, and the Supreme Court of New Mexico says no, nothing's going to be happening. You won't get any benefit anytime soon. You're on your own, and hope for the best.
What do you think drives that attitude? That says
They know they don't have money to help them
Sure.
out. So
Sure.
I
So is it economics? We don't want to spend money on public defenders?
I think so. And they're going to say, well, I bet a lot of those people could afford a lawyer if they, if they had to. I don't know. But I'm sure the ABA would like more business and less public defending going on. But it's the courts are backed up and it's a mess. Now, there's a lot of things going on this weekend I want to get to. Saturday nights, no, not Saturday nights. Coming up at the Rio Grande Theater, check their schedule, is Grindhouse night. And 2 Grindhouse films are going to be shown there. Also, Saturday, today, going on over in Nicia, Classic Car Show, what's going on until 2 o'clock at least. In fact, they're giving out the awards at 2 o'clock. So from, I think, 9 o'clock on, all day long, you can see some really cool cars over there.
Yeah.
I try to get there every year that I can.
What's the location again?
That's at the Mesilla Plaza.
Okay.
They're parked all the way around the plaza. It's a really cool thing to do. Also, there's 2 plays showing in town. It's the, ooh, look at that. Little Shop of Horrors continues at the Black Box Theater tonight and Sunday matinee, and it'll also be on next week. Also, closing weekend at the Las Cruces Community Theater for Don't Drink the Water by Woody Allen. And both of those plays have had movies made on them. And so final weekend for Don't Drink the Water tonight and Sunday matinee going on at the Las Cruces Community Theater. Randy, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure to be here. Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much, and
Thank
come
you.
back and join us again if you can.
Thank you.
I know you're a busy man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation.
And thank you for joining us right here on Double Talk.